There comes a point where even the words "I am" are no longer needed, not because they were wrong, but because they have done their work. They pointed you back to what cannot be spoken, and now even the pointer dissolves. What remains is not a state, not an insight, not an experience. What remains is the simple fact of being without a name. At this stage, there is no longer an effort to stay present. Presence is assumed. You are no longer returning to awareness because you no longer believe you ever left it. The movement of returning belonged to the seeker. When the seeker is no longer believed, returning ends by itself. Life continues exactly as before. You wake up, you eat, you work. You rest. But something essential is gone. The inner commentary has softened. The constant reference to me has lost its urgency. Experiences arise and complete themselves without needing interpretation. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be removed. This is why awakening here feels so ordinary. The mind expected fireworks. Instead, it finds simplicity. The extraordinary disappears into the obvious. You stop looking for confirmation that you are there. You stop checking whether peace is present. Peace does not need to announce itself. It is simply the absence of resistance. In real life, this shows up quietly. A situation that once triggered anxiety now passes without sticking. Not because you controlled your reaction, but because there is no longer a center for it to attach to. A problem appears, is handled, and ends. There is no mental echo afterward, no replay, no story about what it means. Life moves on, unburdened. Even spiritual identity fades here. You no longer think of yourself as someone awakened or someone on a path. Those ideas feel unnecessary, even heavy. You don't need to explain your inner state to yourself or others. Silence feels more honest than description. This is what was always meant by freedom. Not the freedom to feel good all the time, but the freedom from needing experience to validate being. Emotions still arise. Thoughts still appear. The body still changes. But none of these are taken personally. They are movements in life, not definitions of self. At this depth, trust becomes natural. Not trust in outcomes, but trust in the intelligence of life itself. You no longer lean into the future for security. Planning may happen, but psychological leaning does not. The present moment is no longer a bridge to something else. It is complete in itself. Even the idea of surrender changes here. You are no longer surrendering something. There is simply nothing left to hold. The letting go happens so quietly that you might not even notice it. One day you realize you are no longer trying to manage existence. Life is living itself, and you are not separate from that movement. This is why words eventually fail. Any attempt to describe this state feels like too much. The truth is simpler than language. More intimate than thought, closer than breath. Nothing dramatic announces this arrival because there is no one left to arrive. The search does not end with an answer. It ends with rest. Not rest as an experience, but rest as the absence of inner conflict. This is not the disappearance of life. It is the disappearance of friction with life. And that has always been enough.